Hello, hello. It's Wednesday afternoon, just about 1 p.m. I think it's been less than an hour that I've been on my lunch break for. But still, let's get back to work. So add treasure chest, opening it animates it. And I said we could probably use the clicked event in the clickable area. That was for treasure chest itself. Let's see. Hey, Kevin. How's your day been? So yeah, we have a clicked event here, and we just need to make sure that this thing is openable. So this would be like try open chest or something. I guess let's turn this back into a clickable area by giving it the right script. Cool. So now this changes to clickable area, and we just go import this. Cool. And then clicked plus equal try open chest, I guess. No, we can just put it in open chest. I think it's fine. And then just make sure that it's openable in there. If it's not openable or it was opened. Yeah. And now all of this code can go away. That's why we did that. So it's just a little bit nicer. Let's make sure that it's still working. So we should be able to open a chest, but only once it's openable. Should be easy to test. I think we automatically get the treasure room still. Yeah. So we click it, it does nothing. We put a key into it, it should still do nothing. We put another key into it, and now it should actually open. Yeah, good. Cool. Oh, something I never tested, which I should probably do right now, is what happens if you're holding a key and you try to open the chest? So what if I do this? Okay, good. That's fine, I think. I don't actually know. All right, so we made this clickable. Also that we could delete a bunch of code from here. Yeah, looks pretty good. All right, so refactor treasure chest to use clickable area. I think you asked something, but Twitch crashed. How has your day been so far? Oh, and make sure outlining doesn't break. I don't think it did. Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I guess we should just make sure again, although I probably would have noticed as I was doing this, right? Yeah, there haven't been any regressions. It's as broken as it ever was. All right, so that's done. Treasure chest shouldn't stack and keys should not either. So if we go build the town hall and add an item stacking and then go make some treasure chests, you will see that they stack and they should not stack. Treasure chest times 2. Yeah, in order for this to happen any differently, where we look at maximum, I think, quantity, it's here. Stack size per level. Don't we save this somewhere? Day's been good. Lots of training material I need to go through this week. Yeah, it's probably stuff you've already gone through. Here it is, max item quantity. Okay, so I think everything there needs to change. Town dot, yeah. Although there are probably some differences now that it's in the US. I wonder what they are. Actually, maybe there aren't because it's a global corporation. Yeah, who knows? Maybe they're like, don't try taking vacation. We only allow that in Spain. For some, it shows it's completed. Wow, that's pretty cool. You should have submitted a GDPR request for them to delete your data. So you had to take all the trainings again. But I want to do the trainings. What a miserable life that would be. All right, anywhere else I wrote about this? No, that was it. So treasure chests and keys shouldn't stack. Maybe this has a per item thing. Yeah. So these things never stack. We don't even need to consult this, I guess. Hey, Pressel. Has your schedule changed to Pressel? Or just your like behavior pattern, I guess? Town node path, I don't even know why I didn't just delete this earlier. But we don't have any changes now, so let's delete that. Okay. Delete unused string. All right, that was neither here nor there. Let's just preview this. I don't want it to preview that. Random occasion, spending time with a family member, and time flew, it seems. Well, that sounds nice. Yeah. Max item quantity. All right, where do we fetch this? We call set. Set is done when loading and presumably when you unlock this ability. Yep. So it's cached in either case. So, oh my God, I will never mean to do that. Open Apple Music. Like that over here. Well, a meme was born the other day and you've been adhering to it quite rigorously. Do you ever use GDScript? No, I don't. And hey, it's a secret. Okay, so I want to find every user of this. This one doesn't really matter. So this is player held item. Yeah, we need to know what this is for the particular item type. And we have an item there. What about this? We just have item IDs. So we might not have an item. We need to do this based on item IDs. Item IDs will let us find the category, which will let us find the max stack size. In fact, the category could have, no, it can't. Never mind. Well, maybe. All right, so let me write this down. I'll answer your question in just a second, Pressel. So item ID is what we should probably use to look up the item category, to look up the max stack size, which may be 1. Any others where this is going to be a problem? Item ID, that's fine. Item, that's fine. We either need an item or an item ID. I can't imagine we wouldn't have one or the other. Yeah, item ID, item, that's fine, fine, and cool. Yeah, okay. Everything should be easy enough to do here. Hopefully this won't be problematic. How's my day been? It's been really good. It's been very productive. So we have the ability now to put treasure chests into the treasure room. And there's no tooltip or anything yet. We got to still work on a lot of this stuff. But then you can drag a key to it and you can put it in there. And when you put 2 keys in, it'll highlight itself, indicating that you can open it. And when you click it, it'll do this little animation and then open itself. But then the loot pops out into your warehouse directly. But yeah, that's the general flow that we wanted here, right? You turn on the weapon grinder and you put some weapons into it, and it'll spit out keys, which you then put into your treasure chest, which you would have found through battle. And yeah, I don't have a chest there. Should it flash? Yeah. There's a lot that needs to be polished. We're just getting this sort of basic flow working. And then the goal is that hopefully by the end of Friday, we can have playtesters try this out and say whether it's fun. It'll be a little bit difficult to gauge that. Like maybe for the sake of playtesting, we should just have treasure chests drop like 5% of the time from any location. Although that wouldn't really work, I guess. Maybe it's just from the Inferno. I'm not sure. Look at what all these bricks built. That's right. Hey, Chef Alton. Expect to be ready by 3 on Friday, though, right? I have 2 more days. Okay, so max item quantity basically shouldn't exist. This should be something like get the item quantity for a specific item ID. And even then, this doesn't have to be stored here exactly, although we could access it through the town. It could technically be stored anywhere, although it might get saved in a particular spot. No. We just save the ability. So maybe we should have like an item stacker in here, and it encapsulates everything that we need. I kind of like that idea. I have some bad news for you. You meant an hour and a half from now. Well, too bad. Not going to happen. Yeah, I think I'm going to make an item stacker. Where should we put this thing? Source. Do we have an items thing? Yeah, we have items. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's add it in there. Let's just go, what's the closest thing to it? Ground item source. Not even. I don't know. I'll just make an item stacker. All right, so public class item stacker. Does not need to inherit from anything. We don't need anything here. This is going to be really simple. And I do want to write a comment for this. All right, so instead of max item quantity, we're going to have public item stacker, get private set equals null. Actually, why don't we just make a new one right here? Yeah. All right, so max item quantity is going to be moved there. But actually, even this is going to get deleted. We're laying yet another brick. Okay, so now any max item quantity stuff needs to be changed. So this wouldn't be here. It'd be somewhere else. So how about we just get the existing code working, but with item stacker as a layer of indirection here. Max item quantity. This will be an item stacker. Or we should just have a load from save file or something. Yeah, any other max item quantity stuff? Nope. So now everywhere that was using this is going to be broken. This would technically be town.itemstacker.get. And we can do this. It's probably going to be a little annoying to do it that way. Yeah. Well, whatever. I guess I'm just doing it this way anyway. Yeah. Okay. Almost done. We just have, what, 3 more of these things? There. Okay, so if I run the code, it should build, it should run, it should do exactly what it used to do. And we should notice no difference whatsoever. So if I load the game, we should see a bunch of stacked items. Yeah, if I try stacking them on top of each other, it won't actually work. But if I add in new ones, we see them stack. And if I drag this... Oh, is that a bug that already existed? Huh. I think it is. Hey, who cares? Thanks for the resub. How's it going? Interesting. I never noticed this. So if you are holding an item, like this key, and I spawn another item, and then I put it over here, I've actually moved 2 keys, but it doesn't look like I moved 2. It only looks like I'm holding 1 at the time. That's a very minor bug, and I don't really think it matters too much. Minor bug. I'll just file it instead of filing it on my to-do list. Bug with item stacking when obtaining a new item that you're holding. So get item stacking. Pick up any item whose stack size is 1 from your warehouse. Then grant yourself that item such that it will stack in your warehouse. At this point, the held item should reflect the quantity of the item in the warehouse. It doesn't, but you still move the full stack of items as though it did. Yeah. So where's our example here? Yeah, I'll just take a picture of this. Two are here. And only 1 is only, it looks like you're only holding 1. Okay. Okay, so we now have an item stacker. Item stacker is going to get the max item quantity based on an item ID or an item type. So public int get max stack size item category, item category. Yeah, and for this, what we could do is we could return max item quantity, but this is actually going to be a dictionary now. So we don't even really care about this. Yeah, in fact, yeah, we don't. We'll just do this. If item category is treasure chest or keys, then just return 1. Yeah, we don't need a dictionary since these are never, they're not variables. Okay, so now we need to call this instead of this. So this becomes private. And we do max item quantity. And delete all of that stuff. I guess we can set it to the minimum. Min quantity is always 1. Yeah. In fact, min and max quantity, that's fine. All right, so then same thing here, max and max. All right, that breaks everything. Because now they need to be get max stack size for all this stuff. So item stacker dot max item quantity. Every single one of these needs to change. So int max stack size player held item. This won't work. It's got to be the item displays items category. Oh man. Okay. So we got to do it this way. We can't make an intermediate variable there. That's fine though. Easy peasy. Okay, now what about this? The stack size of any item that we're spawning, we need to know what category that item is. We must have item data somewhere, right? We don't. Oh, item, the source has an item, but it only potentially has an item. Okay, fine. So get max stack size, source stack get item, item category. Yeah, now this is for the item which we know exists. We know what item ID we're trying to grant. Why am I doing this? Int max stack size equals item data dot get dot item category. So this is the item category. I guess let's just save that. And then the max stack size is going to be equal to this. Yeah, come on. Good. Great. And then this can be swapped out like so. There. That makes it a little bit nicer. Okay, let's keep going with this. So we use this here and we use it way down in another thing. That's fine. So the max stack size here, int max stack size equals town get nice. Nice, nice, nice. So the item can be null here, but the lowercase item can't be. So this should be fine. Yeah, because you can't drop off nothing. And then this one too, will accept item. We have an item in here and we know that it exists. So max stack size has to be something that we can fetch. Current item, yeah, nice, perfect. Okay, same thing over here. Just got to do this a bunch of times. We only have 3 left. 2 are in the same function. This one is not. Max stack size. All right, now what are we basing this on? Basing it on an item ID. Item ID being what? What we're supposed to add to here? Grant items, yeah, perfect. And then just these 2 are left. It should know exactly the code that I want here and even how to change this. And then the next bit down there, go to it, do it for me. Nice. Okay, that's everything. I think that should work. Let's go try it out. This wasn't such a bad change. And we even got rid of some code from town, which is always nice. So if I grant item stacking and a bunch of warehouse space, and now I just press page up a bunch of times, it'll never stack keys and chests. We cannot stack these things. But if I grant any other kind of item, those can stack. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. It's pretty good. It's pretty good indeed. Yeah, nice. I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. All right, so let's write our comment for this. A simple class for figuring out the maximum stack size for a particular kind of item. Yeah, like I said, this used to be in town. Town should have gotten like marginally smaller. Yeah, 5 lines we got rid of. Better than nothing. Yeah, and it's pretty much just because of this. We don't need this function definition here anymore. And as a result, every user of this got a little bit more complicated. Now it has to access the item stacker. Max stack size of any particular kind of item. Looks good. So yeah, keys and chests cannot stack. I don't think we need a comment for that. Yeah, 0.3%. Every little bit helps. Now we could have broken any other part of this stuff. I will leave that to playtesters. Okay, pretty good. All right, so disallow stacking keys and chests. Yeah, we have unlaid 0.3% of a brick. All right, done with that. All right, next up, chests should have timers on them. Show text for the timer right above the chest. This needs to be in screen space, but adjusted for the camera coordinates. Yeah, so do we ever do something like this right now? I don't think so. I think the only screen space text we create is floating text, except for that. What happens there? Is that just blurry when you zoom out? It's blurry when you zoom out. Yeah. So what we want to have happen is we want to show a timer above this. The goal is to pretty much have something like 9M59S showing above this. And it's easy enough to show text. We can just put a label in the scene. But then the problem is that it's going to get zoomed with the camera. So it's going to look blurry if we put it in the treasure chest scene. And just to show that off here, I'll just add a label. And it'll say something like Testeroni. And we'll put this here. And there, that's it, right? So the text will show up. It'll be visible when you're zoomed in. But when you're zoomed out, it's going to look like trash. Yeah. So the right way to do this would be to make it so that it's in screen space. And then if you zoom in, it just repositions and re-zooms this text. And we have functions for all this stuff, but it's figuring out where do we even put the text? If it's not going to belong to this scene, and how do we want to manage that then? I just strongly dislike this pattern that we have to do. All right, well, the UI has a floating text node. Yeah. So we would want a node where like treasure chest timers go, I guess. So let's think of just from a code perspective how this has to look. Treasure chest should own its own timer. Should own updating its own timer. And something else should own rendering it. If we just have a dedicated node in UI, is this even difficult? I don't think so. Yeah, maybe it's not that hard. Yeah. All right, so how do we want to do this? Maybe the label for this should exist here by default and we reparent it to where it belongs. And that way this thing is clear what it should be. So I'm going to make it a rich text label, And we're going to say 9M59S for now. So I know that this needs to be parameterized and everything. We're not going to worry about that yet. So let's just make this big enough to show here. Probably not that large, to be honest. Font size. Set this to, I guess we could just set it through the text itself, huh? Yeah, what barely fits above this? That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so there's our thing. We can make this size however we want. In fact, we should probably center it, and we should probably fit content. Can we make this not shrink? Center. Something like that. Yeah, something like that. That's decent. All right, so we're gonna call this the timer label. So private rich text label, timer label. In ready, let's fetch that. And then we want to reparent it when we initialize. And we want to initialize this with the town, I guess. Town. So town.ui.floating text node. Is there a reparent? There's reparent, but I think this is not how this works. Changes the parent of this node to new parent. So I got to do it this way. I got to say timer label.reparent, and then we specify the new node. And then there's another argument here, keep global transform. That part doesn't matter. Oh, that's pretty interesting that happens. I wonder how that happens. All right, well, anyway. Okay, so that moves it to a different node. Now, every single time we update the timer or update the camera, we need to move this to be in that screen space. Floating text does this in its process. It calls update position. So we pretty much need to do the exact same thing here, right? We just copy this and put it in process. Override process. All right, so there's no concept of a camera. I guess we should save off the town, private town equals null. Town equals town. So this is going to be town camera. I guess just replace all the cameras with that, right? Yeah, timer label here. All right, tweened position. I don't think this is needed at all. So get position of wherever the node should be to begin with. Hey, it's JV. Yeah, this is a corn keyboard. And it is pretty interesting. I was at that move node with camera node, if that's helpful here. Move node with camera. Move node with camera here. This is probably what I want. Yeah, this is probably what I want. Let's use this for now, and then I'll probably change this before we check in. To do, consider using move node with camera. So the position, let's just say global position. I'm not even going to try to change this yet. This is definitely wrong, but I don't care. And then there's a nudge for camera space offset. Yeah. And then the font size and whatever else. Okay, yeah. Let's try that. So this is clearly not a real timer. Doesn't change the text size. Okay. Yeah, I should write that down. Doesn't change the text size. So. And then what's the problem here? We initialize this with the town, which I don't even think the display has. It doesn't. But it's about to. Private town equals null. And then whoop, that's supposed to be a semicolon. Ready is gonna, or no, init is gonna save that off. And then the initialization of this is also gonna pass that in. Cool. Hopefully that's actually getting initialized, or else none of this is gonna work. But it should be blatantly obvious as soon as we create a treasure chest. So we make a chest, we should just see 9M59S above it. It didn't work. Why didn't it work? What's going on? Uh-oh. It's broken. Is it this that's causing this to fail? Let's try that out. What is going on right now? Why is this invisible? What? Oh, I'm changing the position of this. Whoops, 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 whoops. Yeah, my bad. That's supposed to be the timer label. Okay, my bad. Did I mess that up anywhere else? Global position of this? That's fine. Vector 2, 0, that's fine. That's fine, fine, fine. Yeah. All the rest of that was fine. I was moving the position of the chest. So presumably it was off screen somewhere. Maybe not even possible to have seen it. Or maybe it was in plain sight and I just wasn't looking at it. All right, so now this is a problem with the size of the label. So it's clipping, but obviously we need to fix that. But yeah, the text is visible at any zoom level now. And the real test, and I probably won't be able to see this, but maybe some of you will, is here. No, it's not really visible for anybody, I'd say. It's just too tiny. Yeah, I don't care about that though. If you're zoomed out that far, you're clearly not trying to see. You're not trying to see what that timer says. Okay, then before I forget, let's get rid of the mouse filter. Ignore. So how do we get this to not look like trash? I guess we just expand it infinitely. And as long as those center dots are in the right spot, this should be fine. What happens if we make the font size too big, though? Font size equals 48. It's kind of fine. Not really. We need an anchor. Yeah, we need an anchor. We just do that. Yeah, I guess so. All right, so now does it look good at any font size? No, of course not. Why you do this? We need to shrink it. Is that not a thing? Maybe we do that. Now what happens if we expand this? Okay, now it's looking good. Yeah, now it's looking fine. All right, let's try running that. It's positioned incorrectly still. We're changing the position of the label to be the same as the position of this thing. But I don't know why it's... We might need to add a control. So we put a control here, I guess, and then put this under there. And now maybe it won't ever be wrong. Does that even make sense? I don't think so. I don't think that makes sense at all. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure I need to think a little bit harder about this. Yeah, that's not going to work. The reason it's not going to work is because we reposition this label based on something in the camera space. Maybe able to shrink horizontally too. Off. Oh, yeah, that's true, right? We wouldn't need to do anything special because this thing couldn't ever shrink to the size where it'd be problematic. But I do need to make sure it grows in the right direction. So what happens if we add text here? Yeah, now it's going to grow to the left. So I guess this thing should have been anchored like this. And now it's going to grow. Yeah, now it's growing correctly. But I don't know if any of that matters. We want this to be positioned based on its center. Can we even do that? Horizontal alignment center? I guess that means we don't need this anymore. Yeah. Top alignment doesn't really matter for now. I don't think we can do that. Shrink center. May need a control to anchor it to. Yeah, but then what do we reposition? Because we need to reposition something. Would it be the control or would it be the label? Because all I know is I'm doing this very wrong right now. You reposition the control? Okay. So I guess let's try adding the control back. And let's put this here. So the control is located there. That part's fine. The label then needs to be anchored to the bottom of the control. What is going on right now? What am I doing? Sure. Whatever. All right, we're just going to call this control, and we're going to have that thing get moved. Control equals get node control. Set the position of that thing. Oh, wait a second. We're reparenting the label into a different scene entirely. That's why this won't work. Yeah. So now I don't even know where the text is. Not on the screen. We reparent the node so the anchor wouldn't matter. That's fine though. We shouldn't need the anchor to matter. Let me get this back to what it was. And it really doesn't matter where this thing's located, I guess. What does matter is this. An offset and camera coordinates to apply. If you want something to appear below a sprite, you want it past the sprite's height here. Yeah, so what we need to do is vector2.up times 8. Then the label would still be anchored correctly. Oh. Okay. Something weird is happening though with... Can we make a background color for this? That would probably help. So I could tell what's going on. Godot BB code. There's probably a background color. BG color. BG color equals name. Yeah, cool. Okay, so BG color equals red. Yeah, perfect. Oh, wait, no, but that's not the whole label. How do you set the background of the whole thing? There's an FG color as well. This is used to redact text. What if we set that to red? No, that doesn't really help. Yeah, I guess this doesn't mean anything. I want to figure out how do we color that whole area. Styles, fill, here it is. Style box flat. And just set this to a color. This is not doing anything. Presumably because it is the exact, nope, I don't know why. Wait, fill is not the same as background? What is going on? What style lets you actually control the background? There we go. Okay, figured it out. So we're going to make this blue, and we're going to make the actual contents of the label be pink or red. So BG color equals red. You'd be able to specify the label's pivot as a ratio, and that'd be enough, but that's not currently possible. I was hoping that something like this would work, and I want to figure out visually what's going wrong here. Because, yeah, I think what your solution you're proposing is correct. I don't know where this thing even went. We're setting the wrong thing now. Timer label. This might also fail. We might need a control to be in the thing. Hey, Ayers. It's going well. How'd your stream go? Also, I couldn't help but laugh the other day when you were doing Gamedel or whatever it was called. You saw the Gamedel creator come in and you're like, oh, is that the Gamedel creator? And maybe you were making a joke, but I clicked their name and it said like previously subbed for 1 month or something. Although maybe they never showed up to your channel. It could have been that someone just gifted them a sub anyway. Hey, Balsa Plane, I was actually just thinking about you. I was talking to my wife recently about birthdays and how I don't share my birthday, so people just kind of make up a date, and your name came to mind. Wait, really? Yeah, if you, okay, so here, if you go to Let me make this super easy. How do I copy your name? Copy. Okay. So if you go to this link, this will only work for you. I think that link should be enough for you to see. I don't know if that's how you spell their name, by the way. I don't know if that's the name of it. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, that should tell you how long they've been subbed for in your channel. Anyway, what that means is either someone gifted them a sub and maybe you saw or didn't see, or that they had been there before and they subscribed to you. Either way, it's meaningless. It doesn't matter. I just thought it was funny. 1 month. That's right. Okay, so here's what's happening. It's positioned in the upper left of this here. So we could actually just figure out half the size of the timer label. Although anytime we ever do this, it's kind of bad. Does that work? Hey, Karada, thank you very much. I'm famous. You're really good at that, by the way. There was a game I used to play called Guess the Game. I think it's called Guess the Game. Yeah, this one. So, oh, hey, they added a zoom thing. You've probably played this, or you've probably seen this, but the first picture that they show you, you have basically no real hints. So, like, off the top of my head, can I tell what this is? No. Can I even tell what? No, I have no idea what this is. All right, let's just type lemmings or something. I'm just going to make up a thing. All right, so it's not that. This now looks like a Rareware game. It looks kind of like ukulele. But it's going to eventually... So now it told me the score. No, it's Donkey Kong Country. Donkey Kong Country something. Right? Returns? I don't know. Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. But yeah, if you don't get it, it'll keep making it a little bit more obvious and a little more obvious. I was like super proud of myself for getting some of these, and I told my friend about it, and he's like, his score was like 10 times what my score was. He's just got so many of these. So I imagine you're probably very good at this game. But you're basically replicating an anchor, whichever seems simpler. I'm terrible at the guess the star things. You need to have... I guess even when it's a small set of knowledge, sometimes you'd be surprised at what it is you retain. So I remember in Hearthstone, there was a like, guess the name of the card based on something. I could tell you a lot of the text of cards. I could tell you their sound effects or something. But if you ask me the name, I just don't really look at the name. I don't, if maybe as a streamer you might know it, but yeah, it was one of those things where I was kind of surprised. I'm pretty bad. Well, it looked like you were doing well, and I didn't see a lot of chat input the other day. So I think you were not giving yourself enough credit. Okay. So is this working? No, because I'm positioning this based on camera space. But, oh, yuck. This is horrendous. I want to offset it by screen space coordinates, not by camera space coordinates, right? I think I want to do this. I could direct you to almost anywhere in my city, but don't ask me for street names. I had an incredibly embarrassing thing happen to me. I've been living in the city that I was in for like 6 years, and I saw some guy on his phone near me, and he was like looking up and trying to find landmarks. So I'm like, hey, I could help you out. What are you looking for? And he's like, I'm looking for 6th Street. And I'm like, do you know any landmarks? We were on 6th Street, and I didn't even realize. So then I felt really bad because this guy's just trying to find an Uber or something. I'm not helping whatsoever. I had to be very careful about offering people help when I myself am very, very lost. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. It's hard to tell when we're zoomed out this much because I can't tell where the chest is, but I have a feeling that's actually wrong. Yeah, let's turn off the blue or make it somewhat transparent so we can see behind it. Probably same thing with the red color. Can we say like FFF8? Yeah, that works. Now let's try that. Where we're trying to give people directions, they just kind of, yeah. Wait, creepy energy. I've not had this situation happen a lot. I guess it depends on what kind of city you live in and probably how many tourists there are. Because, yeah, rarely in my life have I seen someone in a place I lived looking for something I could have helped them with. They'd have to be like obvious about looking for it too. Okay, that all looks fine, but then as we zoom out, it looks worse and worse. I think because there's a minimum size of this label. No, it's set to shrink center though, right? Didn't I set both of these to that? I did. What's happening then? Why is this getting... Why is the label itself getting large? Maybe that's its true screen space size even when we're zoomed in. How do I even validate this? I have no idea what I'm doing. I guess we just measure. 277 by 117. Oh yeah, it's always the same size. 277 by 117. Okay. So then that's what's happening. So then how do I get this thing to actually shrink? Maybe I just shrink it like this and then just don't write any text. Just write like a T or something. Does that work? It probably won't. Probably I still have no idea what I'm doing. Will I be at TwitchCon San Diego? No, I'm not a convention person. I like meeting people in real life, and every once in a while, if someone's passing through where I live, which is like roughly Seattle, or if I'm passing through where they live, then I'll meet up with somebody. But I usually have to sort of vet them, which if they're a streamer, it's pretty easy. Um, but yeah, conventions are just not my thing. I'm very introverted. All right, I think this is, no, this is still bad. Yeah, we need to make this somehow shrink. It may need to place it in a margin container, I guess, so that it shrinks for itself. And what, just set the margins all to 0? And then make this thing fit the margin container? And make the margin container shrink? I feel like this should not be as hard as it seems to have been for me to figure out. Like, why is the margin container this big and not... I guess a container sizes its children. That effect is weird. Box container works. Okay, let's try that. Can we set any of this to actually do what I want? All right, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I put text here? Yeah, I'm very much struggling. Why is this still so large? How would we even shrink something to its child? Wouldn't it just be these? Huh. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. And now the position of this should be impossible to move. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Love going to game dev conventions because it's the only place on the planet where I'm the most extroverted person. I think my gripes with conventions are one, I'm introverted. Two, I feel like everyone wants something. So it's like exposure or networking or some other thing. And what else is, yeah, I don't usually want to see the convention itself. So like GodotCon, I'm assuming, sorry, TwitchCon. Like TwitchCon, I'm not really interested in any of the convention materials. And to be honest, I don't think for TwitchCon a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are going because they're like, I get to meet my viewers or I get to meet the streamers I want to see, or both. I don't know how many people are going because they're like, I'm going to learn so much about Twitch. But yeah, Juicebox Hero actually invited me to be on a, I think I think I used the word panel and I think she corrected me. I don't remember what it was exactly, but she invited me to be on a panel or an interactive Q&A. And I was like, for these reasons, I don't think I should be on this. But then there was a fourth reason for that, which is I didn't really feel like I was a subject matter expert on what she's doing a talk on. You try the regular label. These are a bit weird with layout, may need special handling. I can. I just don't know if I'm going to eventually want what a rich text label does. But yeah, I guess we can at least put this here for now. And I can just move this outside of here and turn it off. So now label, we type something like hi. And we see this is still doing weird stuff, right? Panels and art zones. Are you dressing as your avatar? Because your avatar doesn't wear like outlandish clothes or anything that would be hard to do. It's just like normal clothes. Because you probably have enough time to get that done if you wanted to. Yeah, Kevin, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I guess all we need is for the original label. Like if I just delete this stuff completely and I just have this have no text whatsoever and then shrink it down to 0, 0, then I don't think we should have any problem. But now it won't show up in the editor. No idea what, it doesn't work. I mean, I have no idea either. Hey, TCAP. How's it going? Please, I try to keep the stream family friendly. I am just going to quickly purge these messages. I recognize this is the raid message that people were given from TCAP. Welcome in. We are working on Skeleseller. I'm trying to figure out something very, very basic right now, and I'm having the hardest time of my life, which is how do we get text to render over this thing with the right positioning? And I just cannot for the life of me figure this out. Error node not found control. Am I using this control? No, I'm not. Okay. Hey, Olin, thanks. I know today's been a good day so far. We've been productive, been having a good chat. Everything's been going pretty well, other than this one tiny problem that we're encountering. And then I'm not sure what to do. Anything about, now there's no text in here. Oh, right, of course. Okay, so now we need to actually just set the text. Timer label. How did your stream go, TCAP? I think during Next Fest you were playing a bunch of different demos. Did you find anything you liked? Is not intended as a raid message? No, that's fine. And also, I'm not like, I hope I didn't actually ban or time someone out. I hope I just deleted messages. That's all that should have happened. I saw that, yeah, Unabomber, could still type again. Who's the other person? Cupertino. I didn't see Cupertino again, but yeah, I hope I didn't time you out or anything. I wasn't even trying to do that. I was just trying to delete the message. Yeah, okay, cool. Cool, we're all good. All right, so there's the hello string. And yeah, when you zoom out, it just looks stupid. So yeah, I don't know how to fix this. Okay, so Godot rich text label shrink. If I just search for that, resize it to fit the text box. Change the font size. Maybe that's what's happening. We're not changing the label size. We're just changing the font size. But I want to find out how to change the label size then. Is this a corn keyboard? Yeah, this is a corn keyboard. It's got 36 keys. Yeah, but anyway, for those new here, we're working on Skeleseller, and the game itself is a game where you hire adventurers, you send them into battle, they automatically fight for you. So we'll make this battle window big so that the mage will use fireball and the lightning spell, and then they will earn loot for you, which, wait for this battle to end, which you can then sell in your town. So like my little skeleton characters can come over here and just automatically bring this over here. And then any customers can buy that potion. And we've got a pretty good amount of progression so far. The demo's got about 2 hours of gameplay in it. And what we're doing now is we're working on the treasure chest system. So you'll find treasure chests. Hey, Headless Headhunter. Thanks for the raid. Welcome in. I hope your stream was going well. I was just demoing the game to people and what we're working on now. So Skeleseller, auto battler with selling loot. What we're doing now is we're working on treasure chests. So you'll be able to find treasure chests at some point, and then you'll put keys into the chest, and it's going to reduce a timer So like it might take 10 minutes to open a chest, but if you put in a couple of keys, maybe it's going to open almost immediately. And then once it's ready, you can click it, it'll open, and you'll get whatever loot came out of it, which like this is still a work in progress. So the loot shot out over here. I did find a game I liked, basically a standalone version of Surf from Counter-Strike. Oh yeah, and actually that game did really well. I've never played the CSGO version, or I guess the Counter-Strike, I don't know if CSGO. I never played the Counter-Strike version, I never played the Next Fest version, but people, I guess, find that really relaxing or something. I've seen some YouTube videos where people are just surfing the whole time, and they're talking about something totally unrelated. So yeah, I don't know how to do this. Had a success story come in, and wow, the game's coming along nicely. That's awesome. I think that's one of the nice things about any sort of teaching or guidance is when your advice, your guidance has actually led someone to success, because it feels like your success, and in a sense it is. So that's awesome. Congrats to you. All right, so the only other thing I can think here, if I can't figure this part out, is to just change the size of the label maybe. So this is what's supposed to show the timer. We just have hello as placeholder text. And it looks fine. When you're zoomed in, it should probably be a little bit above this. That's fine though. When you're zoomed out, it's kind of fine right up until here. Now, like this label is huge for some reason, and the text is showing up here. And then as you zoom out more, it's way above the chest, which would not look good at all. So if we could just figure out how to shrink this thing. I wonder if we just set its size down to 0. Does that even work? Is this a settable property? It is. Size equals, what is it? A vector 2? Yeah, vector 2. All right, so new vector 2, 1, 1. What happens if we do that? Gotta go back to work. Excited how cool the game looks. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for the raid. Oh, that fixed it. Well, look at that. Now we're basically done. Yeah, it's kind of wiggling a little bit as you zoom in. I don't know if we can do anything about that. It's like getting bigger and then it's shrinking because of the sizing change that I made, I think. Also, it's kind of clipping a little bit. Right, the side of the O isn't showing. I can't believe that works. Yeah, this is pretty stupid. I gotta say. There's gotta be a better way of doing this. And we're gonna need to put spaces around it, I guess, so that we don't do the clipping thing. Is this gonna look stupid? It should look fine because it's centered. But yes, I definitely do not like this. Yeah, it's wiggling a little. Well, we can probably try to figure that out later. Yeah, we can try to figure that out later. Do you have a post zoom signal? So what we're doing is on every frame, we're just setting its position and its text size based on what the camera's coordinates are, and they're the zoom. But I think why this weird thing is happening here is because of that size hack that I put right here. Like if I delete this, then I don't think that wiggling will happen anymore, but then it'll be too big. So there's got to be some way to fix this. Yeah, I don't see wiggling happening, but it's just moving the text entirely, and maybe that's the... Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if this is worth trying to figure out right now. This is the kind of thing I would have assigned to Kevin in the good old days, but I can't anymore. All right, so let's write our 9M 59 seconds here, and let's put this up here, not that the positioning matters. And then we will delete the background color. Oh, when you uncheck it, it just deletes it completely. That's fine. And we'll delete this too. And then we just need to position this a little bit higher up. I have it going 8 pixels above the origin of the treasure chest, which means that the font can still overlap. So we need to know the text size. So this should be size times new vector 2, -half, -1. And then everything should be fine, and we don't even need this anymore. Probably. Can you try calling get combined minimum size on the label after setting the font size and potentially doing size equals to that to see if it changes properly? Yeah, I can try that out. Well, I broke this. No. What does it used to be? It used to be size divided by 2, which is the same as doing this. This is what we used to have. And I wanted to multiply by -1 to move it up even farther. Oh, because I think I see what's going on. I was subtracting a negative. No, I'm just breaking things. I don't understand the difference between this then. Maybe something else caused this to break. Maybe me moving the label. That wouldn't make any sense. Could have been some anchor thing. Yeah, that's weird. What's the difference between size divided by 2 and size times half? Oh, because it was negative. Oh, because I'm subtracting. Oh my God. Sometimes. All right, 1F there, done. This is one of those days I should have taken a brain test and realized my brain is mush. Hey, look at that. Now it just gets positioned wrong for a second. It wiggles. But otherwise, pretty visible. So that's looking good. All right, so now let's try what Kevin suggested, which is do that. Timer label dot get combined minimum size. Delete this. Do this after the positioning. I'm guessing this is still gonna wiggle, maybe, but let's see. Yeah, I still see the wiggling happening. And when I create it for the first time, it like moves the text. Probably makes sense to do it before positioning. Oh yeah, that's true because of this thing. I guess we should do this here. We can just make a vector 2 out of that. Vector 2 size equals that. Replace this and this. Let's see. Oh, I think that actually worked. Well. Okay, great. It looks wonderful now. Thank you, Kevin. I should probably write, this is a hack to make the label shrink after we change the text size. That could have been messing things up. Yeah, maybe. I don't know either. Whole thing's a mess. I was right. We need spaces so that the... Oh, wait, no. We could just get rid of the clip content thing, right? Isn't that on by default? I think... Yes, it's on by default. We can just turn that off. So now we don't need spaces. And it won't get clipped. Although if our... It doesn't matter. I'm not even going to finish that sentence. It should be fine. Yeah. So I don't ever see the black outline getting cut off, right? Also, I'm just realizing now, TCAP, I don't know if you're still there, but why were you saying what you said that turned into a raid message? Is there something going on? Or is it just that you two are in like vaguely competing areas? Because I hope everything's fine. Yeah, nice. This is looking good. It's just banter. Okay, good. Yeah. I'm glad because I was watching a pro Smash match just yesterday, and it was Zane versus Hungry Box. And someone asked in the comments, "Where's Mango in this tournament?" And this is going to mean nothing to anyone else, but that's when I found out that Mango did some very questionable things and was like dropped by his esports team and everything. And man, I don't know these people. I've watched them play Smash. I don't watch their streams. I don't know their personalities beyond what you see at Smash tournaments. But I also don't claim to know what the pressures are of being at the top of a game, or I don't know what goes into this stuff. I'm not saying this to excuse anyone's actions. I don't even know the full story. I looked into it briefly and I'm like, okay, this sounds very questionable to me. Why did I bring this up? Oh yeah, because of the cakes thing. I just want to make sure nothing's going like super wrong in this category. I feel like this is a very low stakes category, software development and games, and I would just be surprised if there was some like major beef between two streamers here. In fact, I kind of wonder how many people are streaming Smash Melee. It's in the esports category. What? How do you just find Melee? There it is. They have 264 viewers. They actually have fewer people watching than probably this category has. How much does this category have? 2.2K. Yeah. There's a lot of beef in this category. Is there actually? I am not privy to any of it. I've heard one comment in the last like 3 years where it sounded like there was, no, actually that's not true. 2 comments in the last like 3 years. Hey again, Luca. We need more blood feuds. We need a Game of Thrones style plot. All right, so this is done. Time should only count down when the chest is there, blah, blah, blah. This is showing up in the floating text layer, by the way, which I never verified, but is there any other way that floating text could show here? I don't think so. I think it's impossible. Because if you try casting a spell or something, like that text can't make it to where this text would show because they're in different parts of the world. Yeah, so I don't think there's any issue there. So this is probably fine. Yeah, I guess I don't interact with enough other streamers to have a problem. Or I guess maybe I should phrase it this way. If I thought I might have a problem with someone after raiding them, I just wouldn't probably raid them again. But yeah, I haven't had any like super negative interactions as far as I can tell. Mean comments people made about other streamer spreadsheet. It might exist for all you know. I might have one of those. All right, so I think the way this is working is pretty good. I write this function should set the set the sprite based on the chest we use, and should use the same sprite sheet if possible. All right, so time remaining is right there. It's set to 100. So every single time, every little bit of time that passes, we just do this minus equal delta. And then we need to set the remaining time inside this thing. So let's just do delta dot toString, or not delta, what am I doing? Time remaining dot toString. That's a stupid way to do this. Let's do it this way. Time remaining colon 0. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's do it that way. All right, so this is going to just show a number of seconds. It's not even going to have an S after it. So it's going to count down from 100. And we don't have to wait that long because we can speed it up by a lot. So I'm going to let one of these get a little bit ahead of the other one. There. Now we'll speed this up a lot. We can speed it up even more by doing this. And now we wait for it to hit 0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now it should be openable. It is not openable because I never called the make it openable thing. So my bad. Apply key to chest is where this happens. Yeah, here, if is openable. And then I guess we can just stop doing this. If not is openable and not has opened, was opened. Yeah, then do this, and then if is openable. Maybe we just have like a modify time thing. Yeah, that probably makes more sense. Let's do that. Modify time remaining delta. Perfect. And let me put this down here. Private void modify time remaining double delta. So we do this. And then call that function from here. -50. Easy. Hey, leap year girl. Someone a Blender expert? I'm definitely not. You will lean and learn. Need all operatives. Is it for fun project? No, this is a for eventual money project, but one that happens to be very fun in the process. So we started in, I think, about April of last year, and the launch is hopefully going to be September or October of this year. So we have the Steam page up and running. We've gotten a bunch of people to play the demo. There are reviews and everything. They've come in pretty positive. And we're almost at the threshold. Once we get to 50, this will say very positive, which is nice. I think there's... Yeah, I think the next threshold is at 500, which probably won't happen before launch. But yeah, feedback's been pretty good. So we're working toward the launch. Okay, so we have a tiny problem here. Modify time remaining is not actually removing delta here. There we go. Also, the modified time remaining should probably just be done regardless of whether this thing was openable. Yeah, that's probably fine. All right, I want to get as much time on this as I can today. But I do have to go at probably like a couple hours from now. All right, so why am I doing this? We have keys for a reason. Let's put a key in one of these chests. Oh, that just added 50. Oh, how funny. All right, so we probably, yeah, whatever. It's fine. This shouldn't be modify time. This should be like reduce time remaining then. And delta will always be positive. This is C sharp. C++ and C sharp have very similar keywords. Probably why they both have C at the beginning of their name, because they took a lot of those keywords from C, but they're very different languages. All right, now we're gonna jam a key in here, and then we wait for this to hit 0. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, it becomes openable. We should probably have that happen as soon as the time would say 0. And then hide the timer once it's openable. Let's do that. Timer label dot hide. And then none of this matters if the thing is hidden. Or timer label dot not visible. So this will be reposition timer label, I guess. Reposition timer label. And that should all go right here. Good. Keep the -0 for funsies. All right. Now we should have it show up in a good way. So what looks better? Something like this or something like this? This is option 1. Option 2. I guess option 3. Option 4 would be 613. Any other reasonable ways of showing this? Option 5 would just be a progress bar filling up. Can I say a programming joke? Yes. Give me one sec. Oh, oops, hang on a second. There. Option 2, 1, 1 or 3, 5 and 1. Oh, you know what? I guess we do have a precedent of this, huh? Which is auto battling. Let's just go enable auto battle and see what happens. And then we need to lose in a battle. Let's go here. All right, so this is what this says right now. There's a progress bar and then a time as well. 5 minus 3. Would it look bad to have a progress bar above chess at all times? Because it can only be so big, right? Like we have the chest close. We could move these, I suppose. So yeah, if we put a progress bar like right here and just have it fill up. And then put the text inside it. Yeah, I think that would look good. Roman numerals. We only use I. That's it. So if there's 600 seconds, we have 600 I's there, and you have to count them. What? That's not good. Okay, the timer doesn't go away. We need to have this thing be disposable. Oh, I guess opened chest calls into here. We could just, as soon as we hide the timer, we can just delete it at that point. Although that might not be good because then we'll try accessing it and it will no longer exist. But I do think I like that idea. Do I like that idea? I don't actually know if I do now. I think let's just make this thing be disposable. Aren't they all disposable by default anyway? What am I even thinking about? And don't I have a dispose function written somewhere? A snippet, I mean? If I type dispose? Yeah, look at that. Wow, how nice. Okay, so what we need to do is timer label dot queue free. A different parent owns this at this point. Hence why we need an explicit call to queue free. All right, do we do that everywhere? I don't actually remember. Probably only in places where there's a parent class. No, I guess it's necessary. What does it do in this case, though? Anything? Oh, it does some stuff. Okay, sure. I wonder if we have any problems where we're not doing that and we should be doing that. It'd basically just be a progress bar then, wouldn't it? But the opposite direction, it'd be shrinking down to 0, whereas a progress bar fills up as it goes to getting closer to open. All right, so let's just put 2 keys in this thing because all I want to do is make sure that it stops showing the text, and then once you free this thing, it's gone for good. Why did that not happen over here, though? If I speed this up and put another key in. Huh, I don't know. Degrees bar. Let's show how close to boiling point it is. Should we show a bar like the slimes for hunger? So what I was picturing is like you get the chest and it looks like this. And then time passes and it looks like this. And then when it's ready to open, this would be filled, of course. I think that makes sense, right? That's also what's happening for auto battle. And then here we just write the text like 10M. Well, no, here would be 0M. But yeah, here it'd say something like 10M. And then here it might say something like 4M. I think that's probably reasonable. Yeah. All right, so how hard would it be to do that? Let's go to the end battle screen and get its progress bar right there. It is called a regeneration progress bar. What is this thing? It's got a remaining time label set via code, and it's got the whole progress bar thing. So I guess we could just use this, but what small bar height, regular bar height, on regeneration complete? Oh, it's got hard-coded stuff saying waiting for full health. So we need to change some of that stuff. Also, we need to be able to adjust what the time is on this timer. Maybe it's not worth reusing a component. It's not that hard. Yeah, it's not that hard. All right, so let's save this as UI treasure. So this would be treasure opening progress. Yeah, that sounds good. Treasure opening progress. All right, so if we were to pump up the value on this thing, okay, that's stupid. Let's set the 550,000, something like that. Yeah, nice. Cool. Oh, looks good. All right, then just give it a different script. Regeneration progress bar. Generation progress bar. Save this as UI treasure. And what I call it? Treasure opening progress. Cool. All right, so we don't need this stuff. Remaining time label, we do need initial duration. We would need to know what the starting value was. We need to know that we need to initialize this sort of thing. How do we set this right now in here? Start regeneration is what sets it. Because we plan on reusing this, but I don't plan on reusing this one. And this whole thing is going to go into a different parent anyway. But yeah, we do need to know what the initial duration is. So let's save that. And then the regen timer is an actual timer. We don't want this. And on complete, we also don't want. This thing is just going to be a display, not a like something that processes itself. Remaining, well, except for the remaining time label part. So we don't need this. We don't need that. We don't need that. On process, it's just going to update whatever the remaining time label is. If this is greater than 0, then set the ratio. Remaining time label, not time left. We don't know what the time left is. I need to set that in here. We should just have the parent control this thing then, right? Like set remaining time. Public void set remaining time. Double time remaining. And then we set the ratio equal to that, which is pretty much just this call here. Time remaining. Then we set the text equal to time remaining. Cool. This doesn't say waiting for full health. It's just got the time and nothing else. We don't even have parentheses. Oh, we probably, well, we need to make this look like minutes and seconds. What did people say? Option 1, 1 or 3, 5 and 1. All right, so the ones that won are this one and this one. I think I'll go with option 1. So we want to say something like 10M. Okay, so I'll write that here too. To do, make this look like 10M15S at the end. No need for hours. All right, so process isn't needed. Set size isn't needed. Start regeneration isn't needed. Stop isn't needed. This isn't needed. This isn't needed. Yeah. All right. Very, very simple thing. And we can delete all of that stuff too. Cool. So now we need to make one of these inside the treasure chest scene. Where did treasure chest go? There it is. So instantiate a treasure opening progress. And then this needs to get positioned correctly. So timer label is just going to be gone. I spent all that time. It's pointless. Although we do need to set the size of this now based on the size of the chest. So what was the size of the original label? All right, this might be a little bit difficult actually. Because this is all going to be in screen space. Yeah. All right, well, I don't know how we're going to do that. Is there a minimum size on this thing? Why is this not letting me shrink this? Layout, minimum size. Yeah, it has a big minimum size. Let's set the minimum size to 1 by 1. And then in the treasure chest scene, we'll just set it to something that is reasonable. So hide that. I don't care about that. Put this here. The positioning doesn't matter. Make it unique. Fetch it from the script. Good. Oh, that's not going to work. And we don't have the script anyway. Or do we have it? No, I didn't put it in. Cool. Good. Also good. Now we reparent this whole thing. And then we process that. So we put that there. And then change this. So set remaining time. And then we don't set the text. The font size might be needed. But how do we change this? We can't change it for this. We need to change it for the we need to have this thing know what the size would be. Maybe it should just reposition itself. Yeah, so we say something like reposition and then put all this stuff over there. Or just do both. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. All right, that sets the size. So now public void reposition. And that's got to pass in a camera, which we then use instead of this all over the place. And then this thing just passes in town.camera. Cannot convert from... Oh, it doesn't know what kind of camera to put in? I don't know what kind of camera it is either. What does it say? It is a scene script camera. Sure. There we have it. Okay, so remaining time label. We add all this stuff. I don't know what else is going to be needed there. This should have been the lowercase camera. And no more red, right? No more red. Okay, how much we want to bet this doesn't work? Because it's going to try to set it to a minimum size that I think is 1 by 1. Maybe it would know because of the size of the label. I am not sure. Yeah, I don't see it at all. Is there like a random pixel floating there? No. Yeah, who knows what happened? Are there error messages? No. Oh, that's fun. All right, so this would be treasure opening progress. Oh, wait. Oh, maybe that was the whole issue. We had it set to the label, and that wasn't visible, so we weren't doing any of this to begin with. Well, that's good. Got some wind in my sails again. Aha, look, up there in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's a random timer counting down on a tree. And it's also flickering. Why is it flickering? That's weird. The flickering is the most concerning part. I wonder if it's getting repositioned to some like weird location every once in a while. It's running out of battery. We don't have any errors. We're also not... We're not seeing any progress bar there. So we're setting the size of just the label, I think. Yeah, I think that's the problem. We want the combined minimum size of everything, and then to set our size to that size, and then this thing's position. That'll probably help a bit. In reposition is its own position. Should it be the chest? I need to take a look. Yes, it does. Good point. Okay, so vector to global position. And then this can pass in global position. I doing? Hey, that's decent. All right, so the flickering is gone. The progress bar is not visible whatsoever. So how do we get the progress bar to look good? This is the thing. What is this? Oh, maybe this is dumb. Maybe we need the progress bar to be inside the HBox container and then just resize the HBox container. Maybe according to the... Darn it, this is going to be difficult. Okay, let's just try reforming the scene hierarchy here. So make this the scene root. Put this behind the other thing. Everything disappeared. Oh, here it is. It's gigantic now. This would need to be set to take up the whole size. But it's got to be stacked on top of the other thing. So this would have to be like that. And then this would have to know to take up how to be anchored to the parent like that, I guess. I don't know if this is... I don't know if this is sufficient. It looks like it might work. And then, yeah, as we change the value of this, where's the value stuff here? As we change the value of this, can we change it by a lot? Yeah, so you can sort of see it filling up right now. This could maybe work. What happens if this becomes really large? No, that won't work. Why won't that work? Because this is not a container. How would I stack these things on top of each other? I guess with a control. Instead of margin containers, the root with progress and label as children, then the size, then size the container to the label size. Yeah, we could do that. Shouldn't we also be able to accomplish this though by putting a control under one of these things? Having this take up the whole size of the parent. And then this thing be set to... No, we'd have to have both of these things be under there, right? Then this takes up the whole size and this takes up the whole size. I'm being a dummy. Okay, let's try Kevin's suggestion. Change the type of this to a margin container. And then what? Progress and label as children. And then just size the thing according to the parent. So now set this to there and there. Set this thing to expand. It already is. Change the name of this to a margin container. Or call it treasure opening progress. You know a lot about coding before you started the game? Yeah, definitely. Control would also work, yeah, but margin container sets the anchoring automatically. Okay, so we need to move this script here. It'd be really nice if we could just drag this up here. I find myself wanting to do that, and it's just not possible. So now this is the texture progress bar. All right, so this whole thing needs to change. This is just a control. Who cares? So everything else is going to go away. And then we need to get to the remaining time label and then texture progress bar. Progress bar. We fetch that from ready. It's not called progress bar though. It's called texture progress bar. Good. The ratio is going to be set on the progress bar itself. The text is fine. And then we set the size of this thing to the size of the remaining time label. And then try running this. Now there's a ×8 here, which we're going to need to change. Maybe we should just pass in the screen space object coordinates so that the caller can do that computation. Is this looking good yet? It looks like it might be working, but I don't see any blue back there. But it should be 10% blue at this point. I guess it doesn't know what its initial duration is. Yeah, I never set it. Oh, that's a shame. All right, so public void init float initial duration. Oh, come on. There. Yeah, set the ratio to 0. I guess that's... Yeah, I guess we can do all of this stuff. Set remaining time, initial duration. That'll do all of this stuff. All right, now we just initialize that. So let's set the initial duration to be, I guess, just time remaining. Cannot convert from double to float. Why is that a float? Oh, it has to eventually be a float. I think you can work with doubles. Yeah. All right, there's some other piece of this puzzle I forgot, but I guess it'll become apparent to us once I run this. Is it working? Oh, yeah, it's turning blue now. We need to change the size of this. What is going on? Zooming in isn't actually changing this. Something's wrong there. But how is it wrong? Rating time label, add. Oh, is it a regular label? And so it has a different thing? Oh, so stupid. It's just font size. I don't think there's a reason to make this a rich text label. So yeah, let's just call it font size. The outline size is probably the same name. Yeah, it's outline size. So that part is fine. So that's why the outline, I guess, was changing. But this will now actually make it change the font size. And now I think everything should look fine. Yes, good. So now all we need to do is theme this such that it's always the same size. Because I definitely don't want this changing. So we need it to have a minimum size according to a label. So we should probably size it based on... What should we size it based on? It should probably just be sized based on like the chest size or something, right? Have the caller pass in the screen space thing. Yeah, we can move this up another couple pixels. So it'll bump up. And yeah, as far as the size of this goes, we could figure out what the size is in camera space and then just say it's got to remain that size once it's in screen space. It'd be nice if we could auto fit whatever the text size should be to make it look good. Maybe the other thing we should do is... No, actually, that's fine. How do we want to do that then? And is this even needed anymore? Size equals size? I don't know. It might be. Yes, it's definitely needed. Otherwise, the thing is huge. Oh, and I'm realizing as I tried to zoom in there that one of these things is consuming mouse inputs. Ignore. Ignore, yeah. All right, so just got to figure out a size. And as mentioned, it could always just be something we convert from camera coordinates. Doesn't that just mean multiplying by the zoom though? Like if we say vector 2 size in camera chords equals new, what should it be? It should pretty much be whatever we see here, right? No, that doesn't make any sense. They're 18 large. So let's say 36 by chest is 18. So yeah, 18, I don't know, something like that. And then we multiply this by the zoom. So do this times camera.zoom. So now when you're zoomed into 8x, this is going to be like 288 pixels wide. And now that means that the size should never change. It should just be, well, it shouldn't look like it's changing, I guess. You should just be zooming in and zooming out. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. It looks ugly in terms of me being a graphic designer. we probably want it to be shorter. And I feel like something else is missing, maybe a border. Like this one had a border. Yeah, I think a border could help. How did we add the border around the hunger meter? Hunger gauge, what is it? It is a progress bar. A progress bar has a border. Background, fill. So if I turn one of these things off, the background is what's doing it. So then how does it know not to fill the whole thing? I don't know. Oh, I see. This itself has a border. Okay, okay. So then it shouldn't be that hard to do. All right, so we got to go to this thing, and then in the, there are no theme overrides. What? Texture progress bar doesn't have a theme override? That's strange. So I need to make this a progress bar in order to use a border? It's not that hard to do. Hopefully they inherit from the same thing. Texture progress bar inherits from range. It works like progress bar, but uses 3 textures. So what is progress bar? Also just inherits from range. Does it have the same names of stuff like ratio? I'm guessing ratio is part of range. Yes, it is. Okay, I think that's what we'd have to do if I want to add a border to this. Let me just look it up really fast. Godot, texture, progress bar, border. How do I account for large borders? Isn't exactly what I want. Is eco? Instead of always showing X seconds, show X minutes. When it's less than a minute, show X seconds. Oh, I haven't finished customizing what it'll look like. I'm in the process of that now. But yeah, I think showing just a number of seconds and having to show a decimal place is really bad. So that definitely needs to be changed. All right, height. You can set all 4 margin values individually to create panels with non-uniform borders. Stretch margin bottom. Okay, so there are a couple of properties that might work. Stretch margin. So if I set this to, let's say, a few pixels, I don't see any change. I don't see this doing anything. What is this? Of the 9 patches left column, only effective if 9 patch stretch is true. It is true, but I don't see a change happening here. I guess because they're just flat textures that I'm using, so it's not going to have any difference. And what was the other property we saw here? Texture progress offset. Texture progress offset. Here it is. Okay, yeah. So that would kind of work. We could have a border show up that way. Alternatively, what we could do is just put this inside of a panel or a margin container, a panel and a margin container. Yeah. So we do this and this. No, not that. And panel container. And then put this in there and set the margin of this to be something. Doesn't really matter what. The panel to have a different panel thing. New style box flat. Let's just make this bright pink for now. And then if we just set the margin, no, other way around, margin goes inside of here. I'm gonna figure this out. Hey, nice, we did it. Okay, yeah, yeah, that was easy. Kind of. Okay, so instead of hot pink, how about we come up with something better? And let's try to figure out what was the size of this, because the thickness of that I think is pretty fine. So border width was just 1. Yeah, so we can use maybe 1 or 2 for this. 1. And then instead of pink, we use a different blue, maybe a lighter blue. Maybe an even darker blue. Maybe dark blue on the outside and lighter blue on the inside. So paste that. That's not what I copied. What? Copy value. Paste. Now it's black. What is going on? What does copy value mean? Oh, is it because I don't know what I'm doing. There we go, finally. All right, we copied that number into here. There, now I got the blue color that I want. And now I want this one to be a little bit lighter. So we just lighten this up. Sure, something like that. Can I just copy hanger thing and use it for progress bar? Oh, the hunger bar? Yeah, we could. And I could have just remade a progress bar and then used the border properties on that. But I was curious how I would do this with texture progress bar. I should probably write this down. Godot UI texture progress bar. You want to add a border? I think you would just need to do more than provide a solid filled rectangle. Alternatively, could add a flat border by making your hierarchy be panel container, margin container, texture progress bar. Right? Panel margin. Yeah. Then set the panel's background. Oh God, I cannot type. To a style box flat. And the margins to something more than 0. Yeah, anything greater than 0, I guess. Okay. Right, style box has a panel style box file, yeah. Okay. What was next? So we got this. The colors are probably a little bit ugly. We'll maybe figure those out in a bit. And then I want to change the height of this to be a little bit lower. And probably the font size to be a bit different as the zoom changes. So we don't have the right text yet, but now we have a border. Everything should still be positioned correctly, I hope. Except for this won't work because now we're only changing the position of the Wait, what? How is that working? Interesting that this is still showing inside of a panel because I don't understand how it would be doing that. And another interesting thing is that as you zoom in on this, because this is showing in camera coordinates, you're seeing the border get thicker. But the same is not true here because this is in screen coordinates because it needs to be for text to show up. Very interesting. So we could actually make the border a little bit bigger as a result of that. So the margin here could be like 2222 or something. All right, let's just keep hammering away at this. I didn't expect the timer stuff to take this long. So I still want this to be a little bit smaller height-wise. And I guess if you zoom completely out, then the label kind of covers this. So maybe it's just our curve as far as modifying font size as we zoom in. And it's not that legible when you're fully zoomed out. So what's a conclusion from that then? We need the font size to get very slightly larger as you zoom in. Yeah, I guess that's it. So if you just set this to 13. How did I come up with the number 12 to begin with anyway? We should probably base it on just the screen size of this and the actual font size that we have. It looks okay. It's not great. I want this to be centered vertically, and I don't know if we can do that. Have a great day. Looking forward to seeing more development streams. Thanks, Jackson. Yeah, I'm trying to stream every weekday, but I stream very little on Tuesday and Thursday. So tomorrow is going to be probably a shorter stream. Can't see any point of having the text to show since the bar is moving. The point is so you know how long is remaining, because different treasure chests will have different amounts of time. So imagine one that's 10 minutes and another one that was, let's say, 20 minutes. Now, if you can only see that the bar is that filled, how much remains? And you wouldn't know the answer to that. So if it was a 10-minute one, then this might be 1 minute. If it's a 20-minute one, this might be 2 minutes. And the reason that matters is because the way you open these is by using keys. And the keys are going to subtract, let's say, 60 seconds. So when I do this, it's like, okay, we are now able to open this. Yeah, take care, Jackson. We got to hide the whole timer when it's ready to be open. Oh, we're changing the position of the entire thing. That's why this is working. And what, we're reparenting the entire thing too? Yeah, we are. Wow, interesting. All right, so where do we hide this timer label? That's got to be there. And then where do we free this? Yeah, there. Okay, so that stuff should now both work. So I guess everything's pretty much fine. We can just worry about the contents of the label now and set it to something like 10M 14S. I want these to be just a hair shorter. Yeah. So we set this to 14. I think that's good. I don't know. All right, let's get the label to be correct. So the time remaining label, we need to get int num minutes equals, yeah, that. And then int num seconds is that, yeah, sure. So if num minutes is greater than 0, else. All right, so it says 10M, 14 seconds, something like that. Is that going to work? Yeah, I think so. And this can be 0. Yeah. All right. That should work, I think. So it's going to start by saying 1M 40S because they start at 100 seconds. Yeah, so let's speed this up. Anything unusual when you get below 1M10S? No, looks fine. What about when we get down to 0? It does say 60 seconds for a little bit. How is that possible? Shouldn't that be impossible? I guess because this is rounding. Ah, yeah, because it's rounding. Okay, how do you make this truncated then? Math dot floor. Problem is, if we do math dot floor here, then it's going to show 0 for longer than it should. So I guess what we should do over here, it's openable when the time remaining is actually less than half a second. Yeah. Because that's when it's going to start rounding down. So this should look compelling, and it technically means it's half a second faster than it ever looks like it should be. Is that going to be problematic at all? So now it should not show 60 seconds, right? Nice. And then when we get down to 0, it should just show that this is openable. I guess I did math off floor. It's technically at 0.99999 that it's openable. But I think this worked out pretty well, actually. Hey, Matt. The rest of the agents are here. Yeah, neat. All right, looking pretty good. What do I have to do now? I have to move this by another pixel or two. Like here. To account for the border and the outline and everything. Does Adam still hate us? Us. No, only one of you. It's up to you all to figure out which one. So Matt, check this out. Treasure chests now have timers, and you can put a key into them, and it'll drastically change the amount of time you have to wait. And then when you're ready to open it, it highlights. You click it, it plays that little animation, and then unfortunately for now, the items shoot out of the portal. But yeah, we can work on that. But you like the little chest opening animation? Pretty good. What are the benefits of having the player wait to open the chest? So this is a largely, let me put it this way. I use the term idle light to describe this game. So let's say you're playing a game like Diablo, you're playing the game. And let's say it's a traditional idle game, you're not playing the game. This is somewhere in the middle. So if we just gave you the chest to open, you would not have any other systems you need to interact with. So the way that these chests actually work, they're going to be set to like 10 minutes. And then this thing is the key grinder. The way that this works is any weapons you have, you can have your workers automatically bring the weapons over here and make keys. And then with the keys, you can open the chests. And your workers can automatically do that part too. So if a timer says 10 minutes, it might on average take like 1 minute to open just because of all the keys and everything that's going on. And maybe at first when you start getting chests, maybe it takes 5 minutes on average, and that slowly lowers down and lowers down and lowers down, and then you're just kind of opening them practically immediately. Hey, Ingvar. So yeah, the reason is to give you a system to interact with, because if you could just open these immediately, then it'd be like, oh, okay, I unlocked treasure chest opening, and you get this, and you're like 5 minutes later, okay, I'm bored now. Like, what am I gonna do? So you gotta have that feeling of you've made progress here. And I think this stuff is fun and fitting with the rest of the game. Like the idea of grinding weapons into keys is something that already exists in the farm. There's a potion extractor. So if I drag a potion in here, it actually plants seeds on the farm. And then these things will grow. You harvest them into carrots. You use the carrots to level up. So yeah, same thing over here. Put weapons in here. Use the keys to unlock your chests. So we put these in. And then use the loot from the chests to earn money. That looks so cool. It's just so cool. It's gonna be very neat to see all this working like totally end to end. All right. So we got this. We said let's have the caller pass this in. And the caller is going to pass in Instead of global position, I guess the position of the object in screen space. So screen space position. Let me just do that. And then this is something that the caller can pass in completely. Vector to screen space position equals this town.camera. So get our global position. Then this is actually just the size of the sprite. It's an offset we have here. Stoked for the keys and chest stuff. Playtest are ready. Yeah, ideally, I'd have this ready by the end of Friday. I think it's going to take like every available work hour between now and then. We're not too far off. We've already gotten a lot of this stuff to work. But in general, the remaining work is going to be automation. So workers moving chests, workers moving keys. It's going to be the loot tables for the chests. It's going to be special keys, although we could do this later if we wanted to. I kind of think it's part of the feature, though, so maybe we can't really do it later. And what else? And then some polish stuff. The polish can definitely wait. What are good source code bases to look into to get better? I think it depends on what you're looking into to get better. So for example, if you didn't know how to code at all, I don't think you should even be really looking at an existing code base. You should be looking at like documentation for the language you're trying to learn. And then let's say you know a little bit of coding. I'd say look at like beginner projects that you're interested in. And then let's say you're an expert coder. I'd say look at projects that like have the level of complexity you want to learn. And that doesn't necessarily make them good code. For me, it's 3ds Max SDK that I make plugins with. So something you can do, you could search GitHub for any APIs that you tend to use to try to find code bases that use the same SDK. Any like specifically enough named thing, right? So if I were looking for Godot code, I might search for, I don't know, some like, I don't know, reparent or node2d or something. You could also potentially just search for Godot and find projects that use it. In case you want to test it at some point, share it on Discord, a setup that seemed to properly auto-size things when changing the label's font size or text. Oh, really? Okay, yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. I do have to find API keys. Not what I was talking about exactly, but probably an effective strategy. All right, so this should look the same as it did. I'm going to delete the delete me scene. Oh, I think I deleted this before, and I think it recreated itself. Is that what happened? It looks like that's what happened. And it looks like that's what's going to continue to happen. Yeah, if I run from Godot at least. All right, I'm not a fan of this, how this looks. It looks exactly how I thought it would, and how it looks is bad. So I think we need to improve the styling of this somehow, and I'll just leave that as an exercise for later. Items for chest sell more. For more, that's the purpose. Not necessarily that they sell for more, but they're going to be worth more overall. So for example, let's say a cane is worth 18 gold. A treasure chest may just have like 50 canes in it. So each individual item isn't really selling for more, but at the end of this, you're getting, 900 gold out of it. So it's like, oh, that chest overall was worth quite a lot of money. But with that said, there will probably be some rare items. So I'm expecting treasure chests to be like loot bombs where, yeah, you get like 30 items at once. And maybe like 1 to 2 of those are pretty rare. Or I should say pretty rare, just rare. There's no concept of like pretty rare in the game. Or maybe just one is rare. One of those is rare. But something like that. And this is where playtesters look at feedback and be like, okay, it's nice getting tons of loot, but I want something to do with the rare loot or something. So yeah, we'll have to figure that out. You think C++ experience will translate well into Unity C#? Already know how to handle code base with 100,000 lines of code? Yeah, I do. I think it will. And thanks, Lantern. Yeah, if you want to, you can play it right now. Not via that command, apparently. Alias demo game. There we go. All right, so that's fine. Keep what's in display, only count down then. We let you move the chest outside of this. We said no. When it hits 0, highlight the chest. We did that. Clicking it spawns and deletes the loot. Manifesting loot table. See this for loot rules. Okay, so get proper loot to spawn is what this task is. Graphics look really good. Yeah, thank you. I can't take credit for any of them. But I totally agree. I think the game looks great. It's also, it is fun for me to play. I feel like I do all of these little incremental changes and I'm hardly playing the game. When I'm finally done with all this stuff and I'm trying things out, it is fun to sit down and like just experience it from a player's point of view. The experiencing from a developer's point of view is sometimes overwhelming because you think in terms of how many tasks have I done, how many more do I have left to do, and I'm trying not to think that way. All right, so timer label needs to be deleted completely. We got rid of that. So let's open up, what is it called? Treasure chest. And then treasure opening progress. Treasure opening progress looks fine. So I guess it's just this. All right, so timer label, we're gonna delete that. Any other places? Yeah. All right, that was it. Probably was expensive to get all this art. So Super Retro World, which is the asset pack that this was based on originally, was like somewhere between $30 and $50. I think it was like $50. I'm not sure. But then Quickie Joe has been doing the rest of the art. The way that I've set up the structure of monetization for people working on Skeleseller has all been like contingent on revenue. So if Skeleseller made like $0, then yeah, unfortunately none of us would make any money. But yeah, based on some percentage of like how much did the game make, maybe up to some like flat amount. Everyone was very generous with their time and their effort that they put in. And I want to be cognizant of that as we get closer to launch. Hey, Ingvar, thank you for the 4 years of resubscribing. That is crazy. Blown away by the support. Okay, this is looking good. This is looking good. Nice. Yeah, this is just an arbitrary number. We should definitely set that later to have this be pulled from item data or something. Dedicated indeed. Looks good. Looks good. Yeah, nice. All right, a lot of this stuff was pretty sensible by the time we got done with it. All right, so show add timers to chess. Chess will now automatically become openable after a certain amount of time. You can speed this up with keys. The timers render as progress bars above the chest. You know, there's another thing we could do that I hadn't thought of until just now, which is, let's open these. So we could have made it so that when you're zoomed out, these just render as bars with no text. And once you hit a certain threshold, then we finally show you the text. So let's just still keep an eye on this for the future. It's not bad right now. It's just certainly not great. I'm always watching, but lurk 90% of the time. Yeah. I don't want to change lurkers' behavior. I am totally fine with people lurking. And I've said this a million times on the stream. My main goal is to be productive. My secondary goal, or goals, I guess after that, it's like productivity is the main goal. And then some amount of entertainment for both myself and other people, probably also some amount of education for other people, and some amount of marketing for myself. But yeah, productivity is the main thing. I'm here because I'm more likely to make a product while I'm here. The very definition of productivity. All right, we are looking good. All right, so get proper loot to spawn. I want to, in the last, I only have about an hour, maybe 45 minutes. So I want to focus on something to do with worker automation if I can. Change how we show the sign. When a battle ends, we get treasure chests. Make keys work when manually. This is already done. Get workers to bring keys to chests. Need to look through all their states and make sure we don't just assume what they're holding is a sellable or cookable item. If they can't find a destination, have them put it in the warehouse. If there are no warehouse slots, wait for a destination. They shouldn't put it back in key storage. Where do they wait for a destination? It'll be the only time they've ever needed to. Oh, wait, no. They wander around, I think. What engine am I using? Hey, Dynan. I'm using Godot. Hey, Proton. Saw Skeleseller on Idle Club's channel. Thanks. Yeah. I was super happy with that video. Man, he got a ton of views. The most out of anyone who's ever played Skeleseller. He's at 64,000. The second most was Avak, who got 28,000. Both of these are crazy. They alone like fueled so much of the game's growth. Yeah, Godot. And then all the other people, I mean, there are some people who got in the thousands of views, but I don't think anyone else ever passed 10,000. And there was a new video as of today that I have not finished watching, but I started watching. Where is it? It's by AFK Dad. Where's the video? Ah, this person, yeah. Yeah, so I started watching this person's video. They looked like they were having fun. Huge nerd for Idolites. Yeah, he seemed to enjoy the game too. I'm glad. We'll have some kind of nightmare mode, like really difficult to beat. So the main design philosophy overarching Skeleseller in general is like, I just say casual and fun. And casual and nightmare are typically opposites of one another. So I will say this, we plan on adding in challenge modes where you can like customize different modifiers for the game. But what does difficult mean in the context of this game? Because if you think of it in the context of a fighting game or an RPG, like you might have some really difficult inputs you need to key into the game. And if you don't, you lose or you die or something, right? What does difficult mean in this game? I don't know. It wasn't made to be difficult. So it might mean that it takes longer in general to win. But, or you might say like battles are really based on your party composition. But just to give you an example here, like, okay, here's the most basic piece of gameplay that you have. You throw a couple of adventurers into the forest and they battle for you. I'm not controlling this battle. So once a battle has started, there is no difficulty for me as a player. So like I just got 3 potions out of this. The fact that I got some potions here means I can go sell them. So now I have a way of earning money. So now as long as I can always fight in the forest, I can always earn as much money as I ever need. So now technically, really none of the rest of the game could be difficult, right? You could make it so that you start needing like 3 billion gold. And then sure, okay, you can't really stay in the forest, but the game doesn't do that right now. So there will be a way for you to craft your own sort of challenge to the game. We could say something like loot sells for 50% less. So this is like make the game harder. But even then, harder is in quotes. It's not really harder, right? Wonder if devs could select between the following, what they would select. Higher percentage of revenue up to some fixed amount, or a smaller percentage of revenue until perpetuity. Yeah, so if you look at just the average game out there, the upfront is almost always better. But then if you look at the outliers, like a Stardew Valley type of game, then yeah, getting a percent in perpetuity is way better. I actually wonder how this works for movies. Because if you think about it, a movie like The Matrix is probably still pulling in money every year, right? Like there's some calculation for streaming platforms. There are direct sales. You could buy it on YouTube or something. And it's probably not millions of dollars. I don't know, maybe it is. But it's some amount of money. And someone's getting that money. I don't know who's getting that money. Maybe the main actors. Maybe like 3 of them, and then maybe some of the producer or the director or something, the movie studio. So yeah, for something like The Matrix, it'd be great. But then how many like indie movie flops are there that make, you know, $1,000 or $5,000? And you'd rather have just gotten paid to do your job. You get punished for wrong decisions, so you can't make much of them, like in Kingdom Rush. In there, if you set up one tower wrong at max difficulty, you're done. Yeah, what I'm saying is, what does that look like in Skeleseller exactly? So what people tend to say is like, oh, what if there's a hardcore mode? And is that fun in the context of Skeleseller? So in general, and I don't want to go into this too much, I guess, because I'll be retreading a lot of old territory here, but I think difficulty doesn't blend well with Skeleseller. It's just not set up to be that kind of game. I'm testing it and I'm suffering a lot with this engine. The physics are very strange. Testing Godot. I think if you find that physics strange, you could try out a different engine. There's nothing that says you have to stick with Godot. Okay, so I said I think these are the things I want to do next. So get workers to bring keys to chests. Let's go see if we can do that. We need to think of what their priorities are right now, though. So a worker has wander, pick up item, drop off item. I guess it's pretty much just these three states that need to change. Yeah, let's go take a look at them. So how does this work? Find item to pick up. They try finding an item on the ground. Then they try finding an item in the warehouse. Then they try finding a crop to harvest. Oh man, you know what I might want to do? I didn't even think about this until just now. What if we made your workers find a crop to harvest randomly with some low chance? Because a lot of people have complained about this. Like you can literally see the priorities that are here right now. They try picking up an item off the ground. If they can't do that, then they try finding an item in the warehouse. And if they can't do that, then they find a crop. And people are always like, why can't crops be harvested automatically? They do that. They just do that last. And some players have said, hey, can we customize this? And I don't really want to do that, but yeah. So where do we want to put in the priority? So let's just list this out like this. So it's find ground item and then find warehouse item, and then it is find crop to harvest. So these are their current priorities. Where should bring a key to a chest go? This one should always be first. Should always be first because ground items can disappear. This should probably always be last because it's just not super important. So I guess option one is before or after warehouse. Option two is randomly with the warehouse. So we basically say something like if 50% chance warehouse, else what's the other thing I was talking about? Keys. Handle keys. And we could tweak however whatever number this should be. Maybe there's a 60% chance they go to the warehouse. I think I'm leaning toward this. But whenever you have randomness in the game, it's a little questionable. The alternative thing I think is I'd go with option. I mean, I guess there are only two choices here, right? It's either before or it's after. I think this would be the second choice. This isn't a bad option if you're not getting a ton of keys. Then again, you can move keys yourself. Do you always write down logic in text and only after in code? Not always. It depends on what I'm doing. Some code is so straightforward, you don't need to design it ahead of time. And in this case, we're talking about game design. This has nothing. The code is going to be dead simple. We're going to put in a function call here somewhere that is like find key to put in chest. And the question is, does it go here? Does it go here? Does it go here? Or does it go here? And that's a game design question. That's not a code question. And I don't know the game design answer for that. I think that no matter what we do, players will want to customize this behavior, which is kind of not something that's in scope for what I'm doing right now. How do we even let players customize this stuff? We need some special UI for this. So then maybe this choice doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, I still think I'm leaning toward option 2 though. We have some random chance for them to do this. And maybe we even change farming to work with that random chance. It's like if there are no other priorities, then go for the crop. But there's a 10% chance that you just let that rise to the top of your priority list anyway. I don't know if you'd want that to happen though. I still think ground items should be at the top no matter what. What if each worker has a different priority order? Yeah, I suppose that could be done. There are going to be times where workers kind of get clogged and you would want the tools to address it. Like if I think if we were going to do that, we would just do this. We just make it so the players could customize this stuff. Yeah, so a chance at going with a warehouse. The problem is we don't know for sure that there's gonna be a warehouse item, right? But I guess we can tell after this function was called if we ended up... Oh no, we know because there was a Boolean. I'm still torn. Nothing has become clear. All right, let's just run the game and let's just look at it for a second and see if that maybe clarifies some things. All right, so we got to fake enough of having things in the game. So we got that, we got that, we've got all our shops. We upgrade the shops, we get this. And I got this for a reason, but I don't remember why. Okay, now we start battling. So we're going to go battle here. Let's send in the archer and put this up here. And let's do one more battle. Let's send in these couple of characters. Okay, so now we're earning some items, and you can see the adventurers are acting as workers here. They're picking up items, they're bringing them to the appropriate shops. Now, if we also had the farm, then they will bring their potions over here. So now the question is, and let's put weapons over there, although they're not collecting weapons. So I guess we got to move, we got to start another battle. Let's send a bunch of characters here. All right, and let's just force them to win that. All right, so we get some weapons in here, and that'll give it... Ooh, that's not good. The drop zones are too close to one another. Huh, well, that's a bug. I'll put that in cleanup. The weapon shop drop zone is too close to the weapon grinder. Well, workers can still move it there. If I speed this up, they should be able to do that. They're never going to pick up a weapon, are they? What's going on? What is going on? They're all just stuck. All right, let's unstick them. At some point, they're going to pick up a weapon. It's just a random chance. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. I guess because we're not generating that many weapons. Let's close out of this battle and this battle. Aha, there. You should be going to the key grinder, right? Yes. Good. All right, so enough of that and we'll get a key. Come on, you can do it. Get a key. There we go. All right, so now that there's a key, we would want a worker to, at some point, pick this up and bring it to a treasure chest, which let's say we had a treasure chest. So when should they do that? Maybe it should be based on the treasure chest you have. Like if you have a chest that's going to take longer than a minute to open, then they prioritize it. That could be kind of interesting. I didn't even think about that until now. This is why looking at the game actually helped. Because remember, at any point, you can just choose to take this and put it over there. I think just having them choose between the warehouse and that would be fine. Yeah, I don't think you'll have that many keys. In fact, even if it came before the warehouse, it might be fine. All right, yeah. Okay, so let's do this one. Random chance. Do different heroes have different priorities? No, they don't. They all have the exact same priority list, which is just this. Take an item off the ground if they can, then try to take an item from the warehouse, and then try to find a crop to harvest. So if, for example, we were to stop battling, and then I speed up the game a little bit, you'll see that they will fully clear out the warehouse. Wait, why did that not happen? Why did they go for the crops? Oh, because there were no slots available. Hi, Ketso. There were no slots available. So yeah, they will take care of the farm when there's nothing else they can do. Good cat. Good cat. Did she step on the keyboard? I think she might have. All right. Yeah. All right, let's go code this. We probably won't finish this because it is already 3:30. And for the cat to be here licking my arm right now means that she's going to want to play soon. That's a good cat. Oh, wow. She just rested her head on my arm. You just want to sleep immediately. Okay, so find warehouse item. How's this going to work? We're going to make a find key for chest. Item display functions dot get random actionable warehouse display. All right, we're going to say find key for chest. And then go code that, I guess. What happens if they pick up a key and they have no destination? We talked about that already. Also, the chest should probably have enough time. We already know workers can't move instantaneously, and you can get quite a lot of upgrades for them. So if I get this maxed out, they're now moving at double speed. And then if I max out this and then click this thing, they'll move at triple speed. That still means that getting from here all the way up to here will take them 2 or 3 seconds. And in that time, no, I guess this never really matters too much. So we should just make them find chests that are at least like more than 10 seconds from being opened. Cat, you don't need to attack my arm. Only find chests that have at least 10 seconds remaining. And even then, is that worth it? Each key lowers the time of a chest by 60 seconds. So if a chest has, like, let's say less than 50 seconds remaining, you're wasting a lot of the key's efficacy. So yeah, they should probably seek out ones that have at least 50 seconds remaining, because there's also some travel time getting there. Because yeah, if they found something in 10 seconds and it took them 5 seconds to get there, then they'd be cutting 5 seconds off the time. It's not that great. All right, so find ones that have at least 50 seconds remaining. And to do find a key anywhere. The anywhere part shouldn't really matter though, right? The warehouse part should do that. So how do they do this? They find an occupied display, and actionable ones are considered something that has a valid destination. This should be pretty easy to do. Yeah. In fact, let me try something here. Let's just ignore this part completely right now. And let's have this return null. And then let's go change the town function that has get valid destination for entity. So allow workers to put chests into the treasure room. That's not even what I want. If the item category is equal to a key, there's got to be a chest. And yeah, we don't check for that right now. See if there's a chest with at least 50 seconds remaining. So treasure room, you have to have the treasure room by the time you can get keys. It's impossible to not have it. But yeah, I guess if the treasure room somehow doesn't exist, if it's null, then just return null. Because chest, oh wait, no. What does this mean? This is a bad thing, right? I should probably just go to the warehouse with it. Allow warehouse as destination. Why is that a Boolean? Why is that a Boolean? Drop off item. Came from the ground. Okay, so if it came from the ground, then it's allowed as a destination. And what is this one for? Wait with item for available destination. This is to not put it in the warehouse. Okay, hold on a second. The cat is like sliding down my lap. Will you please just sit here normally? So they get to run Roller Coaster Tycoon. Surely Skeleseller will be there next year. I mean, it might be. Who knows? We could put a roller coaster in. They won't be able to tell the difference. How's it going, Free Technic? You going? Goodbye, cat. It was a run with fast forward. Yeah, I would imagine. Summer games done quick, not done slowly. All right, we need to change some of this logic a little bit. Check for available destination. May need to change this. So that it can find the warehouse if holding a key. Not totally sure that'll be needed. Yeah, I'm not sure. But coming back to here, if the treasure room is null, return something. I'm not even sure if this is correct. Make sure this makes sense. It probably doesn't. But then the treasure room we know is not null. So we have a get treasure chest. All right. So what we got to do is a where clause. And we want to find any chest where the remaining... We don't have a remaining time thing. Yeah. Tenix developer. Should I call you Tenix publisher? Treasure chest. Alt F4, hey, thanks for the raid. Welcome in, everybody. How's it going? How's it going? Shout out to Alt F4. We are working on treasure chests. Hi, honey, XP. Feels very weird to say hi, honey, and then call my wife honey. It's someone's screen name. What am I supposed to say? Think about it, Tycoon games are the original Idolite games where you could actively influence. That's true. Yeah. That is true. Although in a lot of those games, they would eventually steer off the rails and you just lose. Like Roller Coaster Tycoon had some missions, I think, or some concept of you needing to change things up. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering. But I think if you just let some of those games run forever, you'd end up in a you lose the game state. Like in The Sims 1, probably all your Sims would die eventually. I don't know for sure that that's true. All right, so we're just going to make this public for now. Public double rename me. And this will just go to time remaining. I'm doing this because I just want to hack this together super fast. Am I using Unity? No, I'm using Godot. You'd probably go bankrupt or something. Yeah. All right, so where chest.rename me is greater than 50 or equal to 50. It doesn't matter. And then just sample one of those. First or default. Why is there an out here? That shouldn't matter. And then just return that. Does not contain a definition for sample. Yeah, we need a to list. All right, and that's it. That should just kind of work. Let's see. Hey, typical. Hope you're learning nicely. Yeah, I don't really like my name on this site, or my name on really any of the sites now that I named it Adam Learns. It was originally supposed to be about I was going to learn different technologies and then eventually kind of teach those things. And I did that for about 4 months maybe. And it was interesting. It was incredibly stressful. When you're in a state of constant learning, it never feels like you really gain mastery at something, and it always feels like you have to look for something new that you're interested in learning. And there are probably people out there who, if you throw them into almost any activity, they'd have fun. I'm not that kind of person. There's some activities I would be like mortified to go do, or bored or something. Yeah. All right, so here we have this. We're going to go make a key, and the skeleton should be able to pick up a key and bring it to the treasure chest. They're going up there. They should just throw it from over here, I think. Yeah, nice. Wow. Except for that second one. That second one found the chest even though it had a remaining time of less than 50 seconds. So how did that happen? Orange, right? NES Dev Arc was entertaining. I think as a week-long thing, it wasn't too bad. Most viewers did not seem to like that. So they seek this out. That makes sense. They go over to here and they drop it off. But then why would they bring another key over there? Now they don't. But they definitely brought the first one there. Huh. Why is that? I think it's because both found the destination at once. Yeah, so I'm guessing both are, yep. This one's going to go up there now, even though it's at less than 50 seconds. It already, if two workers both find the same chest as a destination, they won't check to see if the time remaining should stop them from bringing a key. All right, but this is looking pretty nice. Seeing so many fancy effects. Yeah, there's the chest opening effect now. And it does actually produce loot, but it produces it out of the portal. I just didn't think that was worth working on yet. But yeah, you can find treasure chests. You can put them up here. They start counting down to when they'll open. There's no tooltips yet. You can make keys out of the weapon grinder. You already saw that. You can drag keys here yourself now. There's even a drop zone. So if you put it close to one of the... Oh, that's not highlighting correctly. Oh no, it's not highlighting correctly. The treasure room drop zone highlights aren't working at all. Yeah, chest should be highlighted blue when you're close enough. The chest ascends into the portal, that is right. But yeah, I think this is looking pretty good. So the halfway point should be at 50 seconds. So when this should align exactly with like the middle of this chest. Yeah, good. So we didn't mess up any positioning stuff there. Yeah, we're really chugging along here. And even this thing I just did about putting keys in here, even that's pretty nice. So yeah, now, well, there are no workers to pick it up. If I do this, there will be. Well, they'll put it back in the warehouse if there's nowhere to... Uh-oh, they just put 3 keys in. Uh-oh. Well, let's get another key. I think they'll put the key down. Yeah. Will they ever pick up a key and put it... No, they won't put it down. What are they doing? Okay, that's another problem then. Workers won't put keys down if there are no chests, no valid chests. What happens if I got rid of the chests? Would they put them down? Nope. So we just had to make a new one and then they'll throw them in there. Yeah, well, I only just coded like 3 lines of code right now to try to get some of this to work. All right. This is looking pretty good. You know, a lot more work to do with this stuff. Which we'll have to save for tomorrow or the next day, I think. Got them to open and emit loot poorly. Got, what else did we do? Also added timers to them so that they can open themselves. They aren't centered on the warehouse pedestal. Yeah, that's because there's like a 1 pixel shadow on the right side. And I need to bump that over. There are a lot of things on my to-do list. I think that we should have most of the main part of the to-do list done, hopefully by the end of tomorrow. This is done. Make the weapon grinder a quick move destination. Code perks. Code all the different keys. Code treasure chests. Save the room. You start getting your first treasure chest in the real game. Need tooltips to work. Man. All right, yeah, I think tomorrow's got to be a full coding day, so I probably got to save marketing for Saturday. We are running out of time. Also wish it was centered. Yeah, it will be eventually. The reason I haven't just like changed it by 1 pixel or something is because we eventually need to change these sprite sheets. Right now, there are two problems. One, for whatever reason, in any given row, there are 2 duplicates. I don't know why this sprite sheet was set up this way, but like all 3 of these graphics are the same. All 3 of these graphics are the same. So we need to cut out like an entire 2 columns in every one of these treasure chests. And then the second thing is we got to cut out the shadow. And once I do that, there's going to be these like blank gaps in the sprite sheet. So I just haven't taken the time to fix this sprite sheet. But that's why it's in the cleanup tasks. These are things that are going to be mechanical. Like I could turn my brain off and do them. It should be pretty easy. Well, not all of them, but that one at least. And these are not mechanical. These are get everything working in the game. But yeah, like I said, progress has been pretty good so far. We have a way of opening treasure chests. We have a way of getting loot out of them. Workers can now throw keys across the little chasm here. There's the weapon grinder that'll let them put weapons into the thing to get keys in the first place. They're all walking dutifully over there. Very nice. Why does the enchanter get a bonus sign? Yeah, well, the warehouse also has a bonus sign. Yeah, those are a lot of things that are caused by cheats. If I were to save and load the game, they should go away. Yeah, they do go away. But there's a show all signs button here and a grant most things, and those cause things to mess up. Anyway, I've been streaming for quite a long time today. It's been what is that, 6.5 hours? Something like that. Remember, that's like actual stream time minus I think like 2 breaks. So I am a little bit toast right now. Let's go find someone to raid. Yeah, I will say this. Just ending my stream is always really nice. And not having to decide anything. All right, let's raid Sphere for you. Thank you all for watching. I'll be back online tomorrow. I probably have to spend most of the day coding. I don't know if it'll all be on stream. If you want to join Discord, if you want to check out the game yourself, there are some links. Don't feel any pressure. And I will hopefully see you all tomorrow. Let's go say hi to Sphere for you.